Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the recent Home Story Cup champion and the most creative Terran player out there in the red, the Admiral. It's Gumiho. And hopping back onto the scene after some time, we have the Terran player in the blue. It's Bunny, a best of 3 all-Terran showdown on the new StarCraft 2 balance patch. And you know, if you're watching a mirror matchup on this channel, it definitely goes above and beyond. And that might be some foreshadowing for my Gumi bros out there. But if you happen to be one, it'd be awesome if you could like and maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? Jimmy, 1,004. No, you don't get a break for Christmas. 1,492 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And well, at least Gumiho's still playing. I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. We've seen so much creativity out of Gumiho on the new patch, playing mech in pretty much every matchup, especially, in fact, we may have finally reached that point where mech is the new standard in Terran versus Terran. As Gumiho showed the power of the new Cyclone and just mech in general, the weak and malleable Marines are no match for siege tanks and battle cruisers and Vikings when well applied. But Bunny, starting things off with a 1-Rax expand, a bunker at the front, a relatively rare sight, as there's plenty of options for circumventing it, but there's a spotting depot watching for any Reaper gems. Gumiho with a bit more aggressive opener, doesn't go with the 1-Rax expand, but instead gets 2 gas first, and a factory started up. It's impossible to predict what sort of build Gumiho is going to come out with. There's so many different variations. We've seen him drop a singular siege tank, multiple cyclones, just walking up with Hellbats is not out of the question. Now 2 Reapers to 1, those numbers don't add up right now for Bunny, who has to scurry out of the way, wait for the Hellion. Good micro, but great grenade throw. Means he manages to tie up the score when it comes to the Reaper kills. And a good scout. That doesn't sound right. As he scooches away with the Reaper. He sees a Hellion first. Is a very good idea. Well, obviously there's not a second Reaper, so it's either a reactor or just Marines. A lot of the little details in TVT become very important, even more so than other matchups, because since you both have access to the same units, having just another extra Reaper or another 15 seconds on your tech can make all the difference. And now, while there might be a bunker at the front, the Cyclone is already at the doorstep and ready to start knocking. And locks onto the... Wow, it actually outranges Marines in the bunker. Who knew? Well, Gumiho. There's a Cyclone on the way for Bunny, but not quite completed yet. I don't think Gumiho expecting to outright kill this bunker, and doesn't quite have enough damage with 1 knock-on, though. Can start again in a moment. He spots these units moving out, and very quick reaction time. Another Cyclone and a casual uncloaked Banshee on the way, which you would think is not an ideal choice in a matchup where almost everyone builds at least 1 Raven, if not more. But all those units need to be in position. He actually locks on. Hellion takes a lot of damage. There's only 1 Cyclone right now for Bunny. Breaks the lock. Hellion might want to just go home and get a repair, but... Wow. Gumiho just playing with fire here. Looks like he's going to try to lock again. No, the siege tank doesn't siege up. I think Bunny was anticipating a Cyclone drop. Is he out of range? Oh my god. He actually made it work. He knocks out the bunker. The Banshee coming in. Trying to take advantage of the situation, but there's a Cyclone right there. Still though, Gumiho... You know what this reminds me of? Zest. Alright. The kind of builds, well... This is one of those strategies that's like, this doesn't make any sense. This is not good. It's not working. But is it? No. He loses the... Stay in the trees. The vision lock was broken by the saddest little stand of... Actually, it kind of looks like seaweed, but you get the idea. The vision blocker there saves the clones. 3 clones with less than 1 clone of HP between them. And he gets away with it. But recently, Gumiho has really been reminding me of Zest, who sometimes would walk up with 1/3 of the army he needs to do damage. But he does it with such confidence. his opponent flinches and then takes way more damage than they should. And this is Gumiho with 2 Cyclones against a Siege Tank, a Cyclone, a bunch of Marines, coming in with a Banshee. Wait, is the Banshee still... Why is the Banshee alive? He lost one, right? Yes, we watched it die. He built another one. But now, Bunny, he does have Interference Matrix. He can lock down that first tank. Does so. Gets 1 hit off. Another tank retreating. 2 more tanks, indeed. He only has 1 more scramble with that Interference Matrix. The Cyclone's looking to cut off reinforcements. And look, a Banshee! But a Chew-Toy Depot is drawing its fire. Knocks out some of the reinforcements. I don't think the Cyclones ate any tank hits there. 2 Vikings to 1. A bit of an awkward exchange. It actually knocks out Bunny's Viking. Banshee comes in, gets taken out. Wait, why are there 3 Vikings at home? Wait, does he have double starport? Air control is everything in these fights. Unfortunately, though, the Vikings have to make it across the map, and it's not just open water out there. There's Cyclones, which I guess is also dangerous in open water. We're trying to make a Vikings crossing the ocean metaphor here, but it's really not landing. Unlike some of these Vikings when they need to fight some of the Cyclones. Vikings with a bonus to mechanical on the ground are actually remarkably dangerous against their fellow mech units, including Vikings themselves, making them a strong choice, especially for breaking siege tank positions against relatively few tanks. Both sides at 100 supply. It's not even really that they're going mech, it's just they're not going anything but siege tanks and Vikings. Okay, Gumiho mixing a few Hellions in there. He has 3 factories and a starport. No upgrades, no armories. Unit composition is everything. Each of these units is so incredibly strong that having slightly less of them could just spell disaster before any sort... Like, +1 attack is not going to make the difference when you have 8 less Vikings. Like, that's just how it works. And speaking of Vikings, well, 9-6. The Cyclone hit squad still looking for what it can get. Bunny actually kind of walling off. What? Gumi. Okay, that didn't work. Oh, that was a disaster. And this is another one as well. Gonna try to slap down the auto turrets, which keep the command center from landing. Oh no! The 3rd orbital command is knocked out of the sky as Bunny is able to shut it down entirely. Gumiho completely out of position, though somehow still has more supply. The Vikings are all over the place. SCVs trying to stay protected inside the siege tanks. The Vikings hit the deck in the main. All Terran buildings are mechanical as well. What are you gonna do, lift? Well, that doesn't stop. Sit down! Sit down! And he sits back down in the weirdest game of whack-a-mole that we could possibly have. There's a barracks lord out there just scouting. Siege tanks fighting Hellions. Another base scans for the 3rd command center. Gumiho, undeterred, starts a Thor. Bunny, though, Bunny has 6 siege tanks and 14 Vikings, let alone 2 Ravens. He can rotate around. What? Well, this is scouting tank. Great job out there. Mission accomplished. On paper, Bunny has all the fixins he needs for a game-ending push, but Gumiho still has more SCVs. Bunny sacrificed his 3rd base timing to get all this done. Gumiho's just adding Thors on because he's pretty much giving up air control to Bunny. He has so many more Vikings that the Thors, on the other hand, will put the fear of God into those Vikings, being one at that. And when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. The Vikings hit the deck. And the other Vikings, the bad or good Vikings, really depending on who you are. From my point of view, the Vikings are even... Well, Gumiho loses all his Vikings, but still somehow about even on supply with way more workers. Gumiho just manages the Macromaster. He manages to put out so much production. I think, therefore I am, but also Bunny didn't have his production up until somewhat recently. He was working off like 2 starports in a factory, which means he wasn't able to scale up. Part of the reason that Gumiho was taking so much damage is He invested in infrastructure. He invested in those command centers and those factories, and they hadn't quite paid off yet. But undeterred, he now has a sizable army moving across the map. One siege tank. That's but a speed bump for this sort of army. I'm sure Gumiho and Hellions to the north side, distracting as much as he can. There's no vision. Oh, he sees it now. It's a little late. Oh, no. The Viking count is so damn high, and 4 Liberators as well. But the Thors are quite a conundrum. Hellions getting into the natural. A single siege tank, SCVs, eating a heavy fire here in every sense of the word. Another Barracks Lord will be taken out. This is feeling like Brood War almost. The Liberators come back to defend. Eventually, the Hellions will be cleaned up. But Gumiho's buying himself so much space with this. Well, yeah, Gumiho's at 4 bases. Wait, what now? A Liberator? Hops an SCV and gets taken out itself. Well, 6 SCVs dead. I think most of them actually to a Liberator. If not all. 13 S. There's still a Hellion. Finally taken out. Money down to 58 SCVs. Gumiho flip at 85. And he's making mass Cyclone. He's trying to fight from the ground to the air. And he has the best possible composition to do so. He's got 3 Thors, 5 5 Cyclones, and he's building 4 more at a time. The Liberators are dangerous, but as long as he has a couple clones and a Thor nearby, and the key to the clones is Thors, you can use interference matrix. That's efficient. But Cyclones, you can get enough of them that it pretty much invalidates that opportunity. The Liberators themselves are still a major danger to the clones, but overall, not nearly as much of a liability as the Thor's potential. 1 Liberator knocked out of the sky. Well, oh well, there's plenty. Mass expanding. Bunny trying to sneak out with Liberators. His army is pretty incredible. He's got 114 army supply. In fact, that's more than Gumiho can make, as he's kind of overdoing it. He's got 93 SCVs. But taking up a forward position, the scans on either side. 5 more SCVs dead. Bunny kind of doing Gumiho a favor here, as the command center count continues to grow. Upgrades. Bunny has 1-1. Mech weapons and armor. Ship weapons are separate, but the plating works for both. Scouting siege tanks taken out. And the siege tanks in line here scrambles a couple of them. Actually gets a good set off. Vikings hit the deck and will rip through the front line. Liberator sieging up as well. Vikings not bad against the Thors with that bonus mechanical. But he's knocked so many out of the sky, and Gumiho has already restarted Viking production. That was not a decisive victory at all for Bunny. He manages to draw maybe even 20 SCVs died. I'm reasonably sure it was 1 Liberator again. Just as dangerous to SCVs as all other sorts of workers. Gumiho wins the battle on the field. He loses 20 SCVs and plummets to a 11 worker lead. The Cyclones lock on, and because it's spell damage, it actually rips right through the planetary. There's just not enough of them to deal with it. Unsieged tanks bashing through the sieged one. And Gumiho working on his 5th base and however many other command centers he has in the main. 5 Cyclones at a time as well. And 2 starports. With tech labs. There's only one thing we're missing, Gumiho. There's only 2 things we're missing, Gumiho. As he starts Ravens with interference matrix, he knows there's maybe an opportunity now. As Bunny gave up the Vikings. He now still has a slight lead, but it's not nearly the overwhelming number. He eventually committed the Vikings to the ground, and they stayed there. Smart Servos is on the way for Gumiho. Oh, the Liberators! Why was there a Viking on the ground? I think he killed a Hellion. 2 more starports on the way. Gumiho with the full mech switch. The Thor... Border Patrol. Why is there a Thor in red health with a star... a medevac? Is it... Is it Gumiho's response to Liberators a Thor drop? That is some real dramatic point defense. But honestly, not a horrible idea. Thors can beat pretty much anything in small numbers. The Cyclones fighting a retreating action. The siege tank's gonna try to help out, but that's so many siege tanks out of Bunny. And he still has air control. There are 19 clones on the ground. Oh, but every tank is unsieged. A critical mistake. He's gonna lose half a dozen. He's losing the critical mass of tanks. Bunny is halfway across the map and halfway to nowhere. He can't move forward. The Cyclones are picking him apart. He made a huge mistake unsieging every single tank. And the Quadra scans, both sides, whipping them out there. It's like map hacks with extra APM. But somehow Bunny didn't keep... Bunny lost track of Gumiho's army. And he has Interference Matrix and 4 Raven. He learned from Maru at Home Story Cup. That's how Maru actually beat his composition, the one he has right now. But Cyclone Raven. Now, as long as you never make any mistakes with these entirely glass cannons of units, this is an incredibly hard army to beat. Now, it only takes like 2 siege tank hits and a few Vikings to knock everything out. So Gumiho has to be exceedingly careful, while also not being cowardly. And honestly, that whole set of sentences really describes Gumiho in a nutshell, so... That army. And here comes... Oh, the Cyclones on either side. He scrambles some of the tanks on the back line. The rest are taking quite a while to siege. Another wave of interference matrices, but a lot of the tanks were still sieged up and firing, and the Cyclone count is dwindling. The interference matrices are running out, and that, it was just slightly mistimed, which means Gumiho loses a massive amount of supply as well. In fact, he took a little bit of a better trade, but he killed 21 Cyclones, 4 Ravens, 3 Vikings. Gumiho killed 12 Vikings, 13 tanks. I think he may have killed some of his own Cyclones. But now, he's decided. Fusion Core! He needs something with a little more stability, and the Admiral will call in the fleet. And he has the economy still to do so. Yet again, he's able to replenish that army so quickly because he has so many bases and workers. He's fighting a war of attrition, and Bunny's composition is much more about winning outright rather than skirmishing throughout the map. But those siege tanks, we saw how dangerous they were even with 4 or 5 siege tanks, let alone 10. But the Ravens are so helpful. Bunny doing a great job of reacting and keeping Gumiho on his toes, metaphorically, as none of these units... I guess Thor's kind of have toes. Let me see those toes, Thor. Big. Just how I... 25 SCVs dead, and finally Gumiho will be about even on workers. That won't stop him from building more. Ooh. Siege tanks pummeling the Cyclones. And, Sir, do you have a permit? I got your permit right here. 1 battlecruiser in production. Gumiho without much money in the bank, but the Raven count is damn high at the moment. He still has 10 Ravens. Bunny, though, solidifying his position. He's lost 4,000 less minerals, only a few hundred less gas, but 3 battle cruisers in production. He hasn't started Yamato Cannon yet. That might actually be a mistake, as a Yamato Cannon very helpful in this sort of scenario. Scrambles the tank, immediately lifts, not exactly sure that's gonna help. The Vikings are right there, anti-armor missile on the clones. Bunny liked the Cyclone idea. The scans helping out. There's no siege tanks for Gumiho. He actually scrambles some clones. Which oh, not another Liberator! The Liberators are constant, but a battle cruiser jumps in to respond. That's another proportional response out of the Admiral. But where are you gonna go? The SCV's trying to thread the needle here. Or not. He's gonna lose like 2 or 3 more. +2 plating. Wow, Gumiho only has +2 mech. Oh, he didn't kill the battle god, so many SCVs are dying. 82. Still no Yamato cannon. Thor caught in the center. Magfield now done for Bunny as well. I don't know if he had it in the last fight, but that's another 50% damage. The mini-map is a mess right now. Solar flares going out from the orbital commands. 3 battle cruisers. Bunny actually has the Cyclone lead now. In fact, he's up 30 supply. Gumiho, again, in a very rough position. He's trying to play this mobile composition, but Bunny with siege tanks, any amount of siege tanks is really locking it down now. Hellions constantly going out. Where are the battle cruisers? 37 SCVs dead. Gumiho still has so many command center. Bunny's maxed out with a pretty incredible army. 21 Cyclones. 22. Oh, but the battle cruisers, did they just jump? They did. 3 battle cruisers is enough. You can't just split a few clones off. Well, the battle cruisers have to be dealt with. They don't have Yamato. The Ravens have been gathering energy this whole time. I wonder if that's what Gumiho's been banking on, is getting as much energy as possible before this fight. That death ball from Bunny. This Bunny's out for blood. A carnivorous, well, at least mechanically carnivorous Bunny. Are we base trading? There are 3 siege tanks for Gumiho. There are 5 battle cruisers. Those siege tanks gonna hurt a lot. He's softened. Oh, there's more on the high ground! Buddy, no! He has the high ground! Don't try it! What are you doing? Oh, no! Well, what's stopping the battle cruisers from jumping back? It's a disaster! He attacked up a ramp into siege tanks. And Gumiho with the battle cruiser clone, the battle clone base trade. What? What a disaster for Bunny. Oh no. Gumiho does it again. Now, you can see the thought process. I have siege tanks and cyclones. He has battle cruisers and ravens. The longer I take to fight, the worse it's gonna get. So, Gumiho, dancing around with the clones and never actually outright engaging the army until he had a winning position, seems to be the play. So, Gumiho with a surprisingly decisive victory, despite being behind arguably most of the game. Another, again, I think the Zestaphore. Nope, that's a bit much. But the Zest metaphor is even more apt there, because Bunny had a better army for most of the game. He had some good fights. But Gumiho just played like he knew what he was doing the whole time. We know that he wasn't in a good spot. He was struggling. He lost like 100 SCVs, mostly to like 4 Liberators. But he had battle cruisers, he had cyclones, and it feels like he emotionally beat down Bunny before stopping him at the gates. Without the battle cruisers, though, while the battle cruisers weren't a big part of the fight, in fact, every battle cruiser lived, the fact that they exist. At some point, you need enough anti-air. And Cyclones are very good against battle cruisers, but you have to get close enough. So, Bunny, not thrilled at the idea of trying to catch them. And especially without Ravens, there's nothing stopping them from jumping away if they have the cooldown. Again, we're going to see Bunny going for a 1-Rax expand, and Gumiho with the double gas. Wants to get something spicy done early. Appreciate it. It was interesting to see both players kind of... Well, eventually Bunny came around to Gumiho's build with the mass cyclones. I've honestly only seen one game of straight up like cyclone mech against Marine Tank. Marine Tank in the previous patch and throughout most of StarCraft 2 history has been the staple. That has been how we play the game. All right. Now, with some occasional mech sort of strategies, but mostly Marine Tank. But with the Cyclone being reverted, I'm racking my brain because we reverted the Cyclone back to what it was like 2 years ago. But there hasn't really been... When was the Raven cheapened? It may have been after the Cyclone. Either way, I think part of it is people using their new toys. People realizing people have got better over the last 2-3 years and started to realize how much mileage you can get, especially in like Terran versus Terran with those early units. I think Clem can take most of the credit. Gumiho to some extent, but Clem showing what can be done and other Terrans picking and choosing what they want to focus on. He just runs by, no respect. Maybe should have had a little respect, but 1 for 1. And that means the Reaper still. The boys are pulled. Hey, what, you run out of Marines? Yes, Billy, yes. Okay, if you want a real answer, the answer is yes. But I have a feeling you weren't being serious. Don't be a dick, Richard. Oh, no. Sorry. Group projects. Bonnie with a clone on the way. Gumiho with the siege tank drop push. And 3 command centers. Sure. Pull out your bingo cards. We're doing Gumi builds today. I feel like random factory unit in medevac is a free space for Gumiho, though. In every single matchup. Even TVZ seems to have this. Like, we're doing the Cyclone medevac Viking sort of play. The least efficient way to kill Overlord. Don't just drop a tank. What are you doing? Who drops a tank? I am doing a lot of damage, actually. 3 SCVs. Here comes an auto. Oh, this is not... Okay. Well. Nah. If he had left a little bit earlier, but coulda, shoulda, woulda. The Hellion gets in. Citizens arrest. Breaks out, actually. One more. So. 8 SCVs, a Reaper, and 6 Marines. But it did cost him the medevac and a siege tank and a scattering of early units. So... I think Bunny handled that fine. Especially considering the units that he still has alive are units that can translate into counter damage. Siege tanks, Cyclone, Raven. Pretty much anything not made of flesh and blood. 36, 33 in the worker count. But the major danger here... Wait, Gumiho, you can't just keep building command... Wait, did he cancel his 3rd CC to do the push and then restart it? He definitely had a 3rd CC in production. It's right over here. That's kind of crazy. I mean, decisive action. Gumiho's moving out. He has less... Oh, he doesn't have less tanks. I take it back. He just finished the 3rd tank. Is there interference matrix? Yes. Gumiho again, gonna take a forward position and try to use that to force mistakes. I think he spotted the army here. This seems a bit optimistic. Yeah, this is not gonna go well. No, he has interference matrix. I don't know what you think you're doing here, Gumiho. He's just... Oh, thank you for the donation. Viking hits the deck. Actually gonna... Up we go. Well, so he loses everything. Liberator's gonna find a lot of damage, though. Viking back on the ground. Gumiho doing so much damage. Oh. The Viking push-ups. No, get up. Wait, no. Okay, well, there was no really winning option there, but somehow Gumiho gets terrible, terrible damage done. But he now has 4 tanks and 2 Vikings against 4 tanks, 4 Vikings, and 2 Ravens.
The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you.
Gumi bro, I don't know about this one. He's got siege tanks and a very scouting Viking, mission complete. Hits the deck because that's the only way to prevent him from just taking them all out. Nope, that one gets... Huh. Well, they both know what's about to happen. The Vikings on the ground. Probably one of the worst spots he could have dropped those Vikings down, but... Well... He has a 3rd command center. I think Bunny finishes 3rd, yeah. Gumio's probably gonna need to pull the boys. Another Viking gonna get knocked out of the sky before it can even land. I'm not sure where the starport thinks it's going. I guess the Vikings are focused on the command center. Cyclone pops out. It's quite a painful push here. Gumiho still has the numbers that they're not working for him. This one siege tank has 8 kills. I think almost all of them valuable units. But the auto turret, wait, do Cyclones out damage an auto turret trying to kill a tank? The answer is yes. But then there's another tank. Now there's a Cyclone, but there's an auto turret. An interesting exchange. How does Gumiho have so many SCVs? His macro, like, his reflex to macro is so good. Another Cyclone coming in. The boys are pulled. The last stand as siege tanks obliterating one another. The Cyclone gets in the midst of... Ooh. The Vikings cleaning up the SCVs, though. GG. Gumiho makes sure he covers it in Korean and English. And that sends us to game number 3. All tied up. Gumiho getting wild with that one. What if I... Okay, now this is crazy. It's gonna sound crazy. What if I attacked more units with less units? I don't know, Gumiho. That seems like a bad idea. I'm doing it. Oh. Well, to an extent, if he had just a little more back at home, there were like 2 or 3 Vikings that just rallied in, 1 or 2 siege tanks that went the wrong direction. If he had those things, he actually did so much economic damage to Bunny, and we've switched colors just to make it more confusing. So keep up, like and subscribe. And we're getting into game number 3. We're on the map, of course, that describes most players' ladder history, which is Whispers of Gold. So, is that joke still funny? I think it's... Please clap. It's Gumiho. Gumiho has this effect on me. Alright? I'm very excited to see what he comes up with next. Much like Zest, I'm very excited to see how he wins or loses. Because when he loses, it isn't in some, like, boring... generic macro game. No. It's because something dramatic happened. Usually when he wins as well, but rarely do you see Gumiho just die like another player. Bunny, though, acquitting himself well. I think Bunny's kind of realizing what he's up against. Bunny has always been, at least historically, if I'm remembering correctly, it's been a little while, but he's always been strong at timing attacks. We saw that in both games. He put together a great army that could easily win the game. He didn't quite do it in game 1, but in game 2, he was happy with the result, I'm sure. So those decisive timings. Whereas Gumiho, on the other hand, has almost a religious obsession with never stopping SCV production, which honestly may hurt more than help sometimes. But here we are. Game 3. Both players with double gas. This map is so wide open, so beneficial to get any sort of early air or drops. The main base is, like, the edge of your main is closer to your opponent than your naturalist. So any sort of Reapers or... Yeah, Gumiho seems to really like the double Reaper sword opener. He goes for Reactor first, which makes it a little tiny bit vulnerable. to mostly proxy Rex Reaper, but past that, you're able to pump more out. But thank you, by the way, for watching this far. They're trying to get a few more mirror matchups in, because legitimately, there's some great mirror matches. Not all. There are plenty that are 5 minutes long and somebody picked the right build. But again, that's a little more player dependent. Even some, there's actually, I'm working myself up to Protoss versus Protoss. I saw Max Packs versus Hero played a game where Hero made like 30 disruptors and Max Packs made none. And it doesn't go to Stargate. So that sounds like madness. But that'll, if we're going to go to PvP, we're going to make it something like that. And the reason you don't see as many mirror matchups is because I don't know how YouTube knows, but it just seems, even though people seem just as interested, YouTube doesn't show it to as many people. Does YouTube not like mirror matchups? Does Gumiho not like Cyclones? Not Bunny Cyclones. He gets overwhelmed by the Reaper Hellion. No more time for pontificating. Instead, it's time for 3 Reapers. Wait, why do you let him in? What are you doing? Do you think this is gonna make it easier? Why did he let him in? Maybe he thinks, like, if he kills all these units? He did. Was it worth it? He gets a full scout, kills 5 SCVs. He likely would not have killed everything if he had walled it off, obviously, but I don't think losing 5 SCVs when you barely have 20 more than that is necessarily worth it. Gumiho, select all armied his Marines across the map and is now playing it off like that was totally, oh yeah, and here we are, and here come the meta. Sure. Y'all got that free space, right? We've got a tank and 4 Marines. And honestly, this one seems a little better off than the last one because most of the units are across the map. Meanwhile, we got a Cyclone and 4 Marines. It's drop a clock. The siege tanks obliterating each other. Marines dead. He might be able to drop on the tank. But 6 more SCVs and this siege tank uncontested. Gumiho already had a tank back at home, which was enough to deal with Bunny's counter drop. Oh my. He doesn't want to overstay his welcome. He killed a refinery, which is a remarkably important part of things at this stage of the game. Having enough gas, and he doubles back around. He knows he'll come back. Don't do it. He's thinking about siege. You're gonna kill. He's sniping individual SCVs with a siege tank out of a medevac. Feel like he deserves to lose it. But wait, another drop. Oh, well, there's only 1 Marine, so actually the hunt is on. And now we see the Viking stalk its prey. Oh, there's still high ground vision, trying to do the damage, knocking out the Marines one by one. Viking drops down, and eventually the offending siege tank is taken down. But the titanic effort it took. Oh, Bunny, that was more of a matter of principle than anything else. Gumiho, 4 tanks to 2. 2 Vikings to 3. But Gumiho, of course, is on the attack. Why wouldn't he be? Ooh, very dead Marine. Getting dragged along. Oh, but the siege tank surprise! One of the least favorite surprises. Right on the high ground. Of course, Gumiho had siege tanks up there. And losing another one of his tanks. Bunny trying for something resembling a base trade. SCV. Go stand down over there, Billy. It's very cool. Bunny's just gonna try to base trade it. Now, Gumiho doesn't know we're base trading yet. But Gumiho also has more units. So here we go again. There's 1 siege tank. There's going to be a few Vikings. The Barracks Lord will spot all this. Gumio actually finished the 3rd command center, because of course he did. Meanwhile, the natural is taking heavy hits. Gonna try to drop the siege tank at point-blank range. Didn't actually lock on with the clone. Takes out the tank. But Gumio has enough Vikings. The Cyclone locks onto an SCV. Oh, no! Oh, Bunny. JJ! Gumio survives the base trade in this hectic exchange. And that brings us to our bonus game. Gumio versus Nightmare. Yes, we got more Gumi games for the Gumi bros out there. You already liked and subscribed, alright? You deserve it. But another kind of intense yet short exchange complementing the series. I had a lot of fun with that one. I hope you did as well. But now it's time for some boring old non-mirror matchups. With Nightmare, I think Nightmare has a new team. Somewhat embarrassed to say I don't know what that acronym is. In fact, I'm going to look it up right now. All right, now that I feel bad about it. Nightmare on... Nope. Did you know there was a map named Nightmare in SC2? And that's what came up when I... Streamer Zone. That sounds like a scam. Is it a scam? No. They have... it's from Germany. And Nightmare, Jumi, Gerald, and Baby Marine, Rainer's brother. Huh. Must be a relatively new one. Interesting. But with that said, Gumio on Amygdala up against Nightmare. Nightmare, I think... I'm not going to call him the Gumio Protoss. We already called Gumio the Zest of Terrans, but... Nightmare is one of those Protoss players who's actually trying new things. Like, Clem is showing everyone... especially, well, obviously in Protoss versus Terran, but Clem is showing everyone how you're supposed to play Protoss currently. But Nightmare is one of the few players who's actually trying the next version of Protoss. And that means sometimes he crashes and burns. But he's willing to try those ideas, and he's good enough to make them work. Or at least look like a good idea. So, we'll see what he comes up with. And this is by far Gumio's weakest matchup. Against Protoss, much to the dismay and the experience of many, honestly, Gumio a little closer to your average Diamond Leaguer than Clem, what it feels like when it comes to Terran versus Protoss. It's a struggle. If you get a little behind against charge lots or a tsunami of splash damage, you can end up in a pretty terrible spot. Which is why most of Terran versus Protoss focuses on getting that damage done early and usually doing whatever you can to either circumvent or cripple a Blink Stalker opener. Because that is, what? Like I said. So even though Blink Stalkers are about 90% of all Protoss versus Terran. For good reason. Nightmare whips out the Stargate and slaps it down in his main. Ugh. Rarely do you see those out in the wild. With Terran on the other side, that is. It's every game against Zerg, obviously. Playing Ring Around the Nexus. Eventually, the Adept chases it down. We have a random factory unit in Medevac. Widowmine drop is not that random, but... a Gumi classic. Now, part of the reason why Stargate is so uncommon against Terran is because the Widowmine one-shots oracles. Which, in my opinion, is pretty ridiculous. But the Widowmine, at any point... There was a meta for like a year where literally Terrans would just put their mines in seemingly random locations, like here. Somewhere, at some point, an oracle may fly by. And in like the 1 in 5 chance, it actually didn't see nothing. 1 in 5 chance it actually is there, then you're kind of just way ahead if the Widow Mine hits. I think Nightmare is gambling that any Widow Mines or anything like that is in that medevac. Okay. Gumiho drops out the mines. Nightmare. Solid defusal, such as it is. The sacrifice. Where are you going? Oh, he's scared of phoenixes. What a stasis! Meanwhile, we've seen this story before, but the Widow Mine is actually faster than the Adept, which is kind of hilarious. Can we kiss over by the Zerg rocks? Find out more on Drone Me, fans, after you like and subscribe. Those rocks. Oh, no, no, no! Okay, he can do the shade thing. Revelating it doesn't actually help, even if you know where it is. So this is quite a conundrum here. He doesn't actually have any... Okay, all right, here comes the Phoenix to deal with all this. Ah, what? He found the stasis. There's Blink on the way and a Templar Archives on 2 base. Nightmare. Is that like a bamboo tech tree right here, shooting straight up it. But guess what? Liberator has arrived. 3, 4 probes and the entire mineral line has to be pulled. Gumiho with no shame. Oh no, the Oracle! Oh no, the Adept! Even tries to shade away. That's extra depressing. He just leaves the Liberator there. Gets an extra probe. 5 kills. And he spotted the Templar Archives. Now, here's all the random units in the bay. Love you, Gumiho. The Phoenix! Oh, no, no! Don't talk to me or my friends ever again. What is this? Ah, yes, Gumiho with the classic mandated union work break. Hanging out by the... Yeah, no loitering! Job's finished. That's a filthy lie, and you know it, Billy. Now get back to work. Blink is done. Cyclone latches on. Gonna get 1. This is not enough units to actually fight this. For Gumiho, the Cyclone just leaves the Marines behind because we all know how little Gumiho values bio units. Now, well, losing all those Marines leaves Gumiho with 5 Marines, a Marauder, and a siege tank back at home. In other words, not enough. He, like, auto turret slap down, feedback doesn't do much. Full stop, but also after the energy is used on those turrets. And the Phoenix, okay, that second siege tank may have just saved the game, because without it, Gumiho almost certainly cannot hold these Blink Stalkers. What? Cyclone? Does the Cyclone kill an Archon before it finishes warping in? The world may never know. Oh my, the siege tank on the high ground is doing incredible damage. Just annihilates half the Stalkers. The rest are badly bruised. Nightmare. Oh, this game becoming a himself right now. Gumiho, how does he do that? This is 2 players in a row that he just baits into siege tanks. Because it feels like you should be able to beat him. He's lost so much. He lost so many Marines. But no, there's always another siege tank. And he's landing his 3rd. That SCV production is so consistent as well. He's up 5 workers. Yes, he's killed some probes, but usually Terran, in an ideal scenario, should be down 10 to 15. Because building orbitals, just generally, you don't usually expand as quick. But having a lead at any point, especially early on 3 bases, is an absolutely incredible position to be in. Ah, yes, the Raven clone composition, a holdover from the previous series. Just doing marketing. What is this? The units you didn't want to micro with the main army? You know what? That's probably it. Like, I don't want these on my main control group because they're going to screw things up. So, have at it, boys. Meanwhile, Gumiho with the casual tank push. This doesn't feel like enough units, but there's no charge yet. Just gonna stand there? Yep, menacingly. He's just standing there. He's just sitting there. Yep, that's a zealot. Ooh. Let it happen. Let it happen. That whole position zealot is very upset right now. Orders are orders. Oh no, nightmare. Gumio backs off. He's got quite an army. He's even whipped out some ghosts, which is a big step. He really doesn't like building ghosts. They're hard to micro. He didn't say that, but just based on how little he builds ghosts unless he desperately needs them. But against Nightmare, who most of his army is based around these Templar, the ghosts are pretty important. Okay, well this is gonna get weird. We base trading. Here we go again. Buckle up. Buckle in, buckle down. Here we go. And just weathers the storms. There's one more. EMP, I'm pretty sure every storm went off, but that's not even remotely enough, as Gumio just tearing through everything here. There's no siege tanks on the high ground. 14 SCVs dead. Another storm. He's doing so much with these. Is able to yank them back into the prism. Energy recharge is off cooldown now. He loses... he really needs those Templar. Meanwhile, what is over here? Another command center on the run. The SCVs, some getting hunted down. Another Templar taken down. Third and fourth base knocked out. Meanwhile, go... Stand very still. Protoss vision is based on movement. All right. We're good. You can move now. Siege tanks! Why are there the siege tanks left behind? Gumio just pulls everyone, well not everyone, but most of his units into the Medivacs. He's still up 40 supply. Gonna kill another Nexus. The Widow Mines! 46 probes dead. Not just to the Widow Mines, but like a combined effort. The Gateway units are coming in. Knocks out most of the Medivacs. But actually the Bio army still doing a lot of damage because the Zealots and Archon weren't able to close the distance. And Gumio still has all his bases. He still has 40... GG! And then it just kind of ends. Again, Gumio gets into a weird base trade. And again, Gumio comes out on top. As another great set of Gumi games here for us to Gumi go on. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it made your day just a little bit better. And I hope to see you next time. If you got the means of motivation, you also can check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.